There's a mountain town in America where you can buy a house for under $200,000, wake up to 14,000-foot peaks, and still grab coffee without selling plasma to afford it. No, this isn't a time machine. It's just a place nobody told you about. Everyone thinks mountain living means Aspen prices, trust fund neighbors, and paying $17 for avocado toast at 10,000 feet. But here's what nobody tells you. While influencers are dropping millions on Telluride condos, there are actual mountain towns where you can own property, access trails, and live surrounded by peaks without requiring a hedge fund. The catch? You've never heard of them. And there's usually a reason for that. We're counting down 12 mountain towns so cheap, you'll question if the elevation is real. One place has rent under $1,000 with ski resort access. Another has home prices that haven't changed since 2008 because the nearest Whole Foods is in another state. And yes, one town's population is so small, the local coffee shop is also the post office, the library, and possibly a confessional. Think you know affordable mountain living? Cool. Let's see if you can handle a place where the peaks are real. But the cell service is theoretical. Like this video if you've ever Zillow searched mountain towns at midnight and cried at the prices. Subscribe because one day you'll want to escape to altitude. And this channel is basically your altitude relocation guide with better research. Let's break it down. Number 12. Red Lodge, Montana. In Red Lodge, you can buy a house with mountain views for under $400,000, which in mountain town economics is basically free. Welcome to Montana's affordable gateway to the Beartooths. Red Lodge sits at the base of the Beartooth Mountains in south-central Montana, with around 2,200 people. It's 60 miles from Yellowstone, has legitimate ski access, and somehow hasn't been completely discovered by the trust fund crowd yet. The town has that classic Western mountain vibe, brick storefronts, local breweries, and people who actually work for a living instead of just Instagramming their lifestyle. Here's what Red Lodge costs versus what you're getting. Median home price around $375,000. Not cheap, but compare that to Jackson Hole at $2.5 million. Rent approximately $1,300 per month for a 2-bedroom. Cost of living about 8% above the national average, but you're in the mountains. Job market mostly tourism, service industry, and remote work. Red Lodge Mountain Ski Resort provides seasonal employment. Population small enough that you'll know your neighbors whether you want to or not. Red Lodge works because it's far enough from anywhere that it stays relatively undiscovered. You're an hour from Billings, which is not exactly a destination city. You're 60 miles from Yellowstone, which keeps summer tourism alive, but doesn't create the same price pressure as being inside the park. And the Beartooth Highway, one of the most scenic drives in America, ends here. But here's what you're signing up for. Winter in Montana is not cute. Red Lodge gets buried in snow. We're talking 150 plus inches annually. Your snowblower becomes your best friend. Your heating bill becomes a mortgage payment. And winter lasts from October through May if you're unlucky. Also, the town essentially shuts down in the off-season. The ski resort closes in April. Summer doesn't start until June. And there's a weird dead period where half the businesses board up and locals hide indoors wondering why they live here. A local put it perfectly online. Red Lodge is heaven from June to September and a frozen test of will from November to March. You live here because you love mountains more than you hate winter. If you have to think about that trade-off, this isn't your place. Translation: Red Lodge works for people who need mountains in their daily life and can handle serious winter. You're not getting Aspen amenities, but you're also not paying Aspen prices. The access to wilderness is real. The isolation is too. Okay, real talk about Montana infrastructure. Red Lodge is small. One grocery store. Limited dining. The nearest Target is an hour away in Billings. If you need variety, services, or anything specialized, you're driving. A lot. Also, the altitude is real. Red Lodge sits at 5,600 feet. If you're moving from sea level, expect your body to complain for a few weeks. You'll be winded walking to your mailbox and wondering if you're dying or just adjusting. Picture this. You wake up to the mountains glowing in morning light. You make coffee, step onto your deck, and there's actual wildlife in your yard. Maybe an elk, possibly a moose. You're 10 minutes from hiking that would cost a fortune to access elsewhere. Your mortgage is manageable. Then you check the weather. It's May, and there's a foot of snow. Again, paradise requires patience. Red Lodge has median home prices half of what you'd pay in Summit County, Colorado. Same mountains, half the trust fund energy. Be honest, would you pay $400,000 to live in a town of 2,000 people with 6-month winters? Yes, mountains over everything. Or nah, I need civilization. Comment your winter tolerance level below. Number 11. Salida, Colorado. Salida is the Colorado mountain town that artists discovered before tech bros did, which means it's still semi-affordable. Barely. Salida sits in central Colorado at 7,000 feet, with around 5,800 people. It sits on the Arkansas River, surrounded by 14ers, and has that creative mountain energy, with galleries, murals, and people who moved here for lifestyle over income. Here's what Salida costs, and why it matters. Median home price is around $450,000. Expensive, but this is Colorado. Comparable towns are double. Rent is about $1,500 per month. Cost of living is about 5% above the national average. The job market is service industry, tourism, outdoor recreation, and increasingly remote workers. Salida works because it hit a sweet spot. It's far enough from Denver, 2.5 hours, that it does not get crushed by front-range money. But it's close enough that weekenders support the economy. The town has legitimate outdoor access. Whitewater kayaking, mountain biking, hiking, and skiing is 30 minutes away at Monarch. And the downtown is actually charming without feeling manufactured. But here is the thing. Salida is gentrifying in real time. Artists and creatives moved here 20 years ago when it was cheap. Now, tech workers and remote professionals are following. Home prices have shot up. Longtime residents are getting priced out. There is tension between the locals who built the culture and the newcomers driving up costs. Someone who has lived there a decade wrote that Salida used to be affordable mountain living. Now it is expensive mountain living that is still cheaper than Telluride, so people act like it is a bargain. The culture is shifting from artists to remote workers with Teslas, and not everyone is happy about it. Translation: Salida is in transition. It is still more affordable than most Colorado mountain towns, but it is not the hidden gem it was 5 years ago. If you want in, the window is closing. Can we talk about Colorado mountain town winter? Salida gets winter, but it is high desert. You get sun, lots of sun. Unlike mountain towns further west that are gray and snowy for months, Salida gets snow, then melts it off, with 300 days of sunshine. If you're going to do Colorado winter, this is one of the more tolerable versions. Picture yourself living in a town where the main street has actual local businesses, not chains. You bike to a coffee shop, work remote from a co-working space, then kayak after work in summer, or skin up a mountain in winter. Your cost of living is manageable if you got in early. You are watching your home value increase while your neighbors complain they cannot afford to stay. It is uncomfortable prosperity. Salida is what happens when an affordable mountain town gets discovered but has not fully transformed yet. You are catching it mid-transition. Would you move to a mountain town that is gentrifying and might price you out later? Yes, I'll ride the wave. Or nah, I want stability. Drop your gentrification comfort level. Number 10. Silver City, New Mexico. Silver City will give you mountain living for prices that sound cheap, but the trade-off is you are in New Mexico, and nobody knows where that is. Silver City sits in southwestern New Mexico at nearly 6,000 feet, with around 10,000 people. It is surrounded by the Gila National Forest, has a funky artsy vibe, and costs so little compared to other mountain towns you will think something is wrong. Here is what Silver City costs, and why it can seem suspicious. Median home price around $210,000. That is not a typo. That is an actual mountain town house price. Rent approximately $950 per month. Cost of living about 13% below the national average. The job market is small. Some mining still exists. Western New Mexico University provides stability, and tourism and service work matter. This is remote work territory if you want income. Silver City works because it is genuinely remote. You are an hour from anything resembling a city. You are 2 hours from an interstate, and you are in New Mexico, which half of America forgets is a state. That isolation keeps prices low, but it also means limited services. limited jobs, and limited everything. The upside is legitimate access to wilderness. The Gila Wilderness is the first designated wilderness area in America. You have hiking, hot springs, and outdoor recreation that rivals anywhere. The town has culture, galleries, a small college, and people who chose to be here for lifestyle. The downside is you are far from everything. Medical care is basic. Shopping is limited. The nearest Costco is 2 hours away, and you will make that pilgrimage monthly, whether you like it or not. A resident described it honestly. Silver City is perfect if you want cheap mountain living and do not mind being off the grid culturally and geographically. I pay $900 in rent for a place with mountain views, but I also drive 2 hours to see a movie, and my dating pool is 12 people. That value translates to incredible affordability if you can handle extreme isolation. You are buying affordability with distance from civilization. For some people, that is the dream. For others, it is a nightmare. New Mexico has its own quirks and culture. It is not quite the Southwest, not quite the Mountain West, somewhere in between, with green Chile on everything. Also, the altitude is real, but the winters are mild. You get sun, limited snow, and 4 actual seasons. If you are doing mountain living, New Mexico is one of the easier versions climatically. Picture this. You buy a house in Silver City for $200,000. Your mortgage is under $1,000 a month. You hike in the Gila, soak in hot springs, and live surrounded by mountains on a budget that is impossible anywhere else. Then you need a specialty item and realize the nearest REI is in another time zone. Sometimes cheap has a reason. Silver City has home prices half of Salida's and a tenth of Aspen's. It is affordable because it is remote, not because it is bad. Number 9. Buena Vista, Colorado. Buena Vista is the Colorado town where you can still buy property for under $400,000 if you are fast and not picky about square footage. Affordable. Buena Vista sits in central Colorado at about 8,000 feet with roughly 3,000 people. It is 30 minutes south of Salida on the Arkansas River and surrounded by 14ers. Elevation. The town is outdoorsy to an almost absurd degree. Everyone here climbs, bikes, kayaks, or hikes. If you do not own a roof rack, you are suspicious. Outdoor. Here is what Buena Vista costs right now. Median home price around $380,000. Still findable under $400,000 if you act fast. Rent approximately $1,400 per month. Cost of living about 7% above the national average. Job market includes tourism, outdoor guiding, the service industry, and remote work. This is not a career ladder town. Costs. BV, as locals call it, works because it is just far enough from everything. You are 2.5 hours from Denver, and about an hour from any significant town. The economy is largely based on people who chose mountains over money. Distance. The outdoor access is legitimate. 14ers within an hour. World-class whitewater, mountain biking that draws people from across the country. And hot springs, because Colorado cannot help itself. Access. But here is the catch. BV is tiny. Like really tiny. 2 grocery stores. Limited dining. 0 chains except a Subway that everyone pretends does not exist. If you need variety, culture, or anything beyond outdoor recreation, you are going to feel the limitations fast. Limits. Someone who moved there described it this way. BV is Disneyland for outdoorsy people. If you wake up excited to suffer on a mountain, it is perfect. If you need bookstores, diverse food, or people who do not own chacos, you will be lonely. Disneyland. Buena Vista is for mountain purists. You are choosing access to wilderness over access to culture. If that trade works for you, BV offers Colorado mountain living at almost reasonable prices. Purists. Can we address altitude adjustment? Buena Vista sits at 8,000 feet. That is real elevation. If you move from sea level, expect headaches, fatigue, and shortness of breath for weeks. Your body will adapt, but the first month is rough. Also, the ultraviolet index is brutal. Sunscreen is not optional. It is survival. Altitude. Picture yourself living at 8,000 feet surrounded by 14ers. You ski before work in winter, kayak after work in summer. Your town has 3,000 people, and you know half of them from the climbing gym. Your rent is $1,400, and your quality of life is off the charts. Then you want sushi. And remember, the only option is grocery store. California rolls. Paradise has limits. Buena Vista is cheaper than Breckenridge, but offers comparable outdoor access. The trade-off is amenities and size. Comparison. Number 8. Creede, Colorado. Creede is the mountain town that time forgot, which means prices that do not make sense, and isolation that definitely does. Creede sits in the San Juan Mountains at about 8,700 feet, with a population under 300. Yes, 300. Here is what Creede costs and why nobody lives there. Median home price around $250,000. Shockingly low for Colorado mountains. Rent is hard to find because almost nobody rents, but expect under $1,000 if available. Cost of living is low because there is nothing to spend money on. The job market is mining, heritage tourism, and a summer repertory theater. That is about it. Remote work is the only realistic option for steady income. Creede is cheap because it is absurdly isolated. You are an hour from the nearest town with a grocery store, 2 hours from anything resembling services. In winter, you can get completely cut off when the passes close. The town exists because of mining history and a beloved summer theater company. If you are here, you chose to be here for very specific reasons. Mountains, solitude, or you are hiding from something. The upside is unreal wilderness access. You are in the San Juans. Some of Colorado's most dramatic peaks surround you. Hiking, fishing, and scenery that makes you understand why people write bad poetry. The downside is everything else. 300 people means no anonymity. The town essentially closes in winter. If you need medical care, a specialist, or anything beyond basic supplies, you are driving hours. A seasonal resident said Creede in summer is magical, gorgeous, vibrant, alive. Creede in winter is a test of whether you actually like yourself enough to spend 6 months alone. Most people fail that test. Translation: Creede is for extremists, people who want maximum mountains, minimum people, and do not care about sacrificing basically everything else. It is cheap because it is hard. Picture this. You buy a house in Creede for $250,000. Summer is perfect. Hiking, theater, community. Then winter arrives and the population drops to under 100. The nearest grocery store is an hour away. You have not seen another human in days. You are living in a postcard that occasionally feels like solitary confinement. Sometimes cheap is cheap for a reason. Creede has Colorado mountain living at non-Colorado prices, but you are also living in a town of 300 that is cut off half the year. Number 7. Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Pagosa Springs gives you Colorado mountains, natural hot springs, and home prices that do not require selling organs. Welcome to southwestern Colorado's affordable secret. Pagosa Springs sits at about 7,200 feet, with around 1,900 people. It is about 2 hours from Durango, 2.5 hours from Albuquerque, and 4 hours from Denver. The town is surrounded by national forest, and natural hot springs run through town. The vibe is mountain hippie meets retiree haven. Here is what Pagosa costs and why it works. The median home price is around $420,000. Rent is about $1,300 per month. The cost of living is about 4% above the national average. Jobs are mostly in tourism, the service industry, healthcare, and remote work. Wolf Creek Ski Area provides seasonal employment. Wolf Creek gets some of the most snow in Colorado. Hiking and fishing are excellent. The hot springs are the main draw. Natural geothermal water flows through town. You can literally soak in hot springs while snow falls. It is touristy, but legitimately cool. Pagosa is also full of retirees. The median age is high. If you are under 40 and not into soaking with septuagenarians, the social scene might feel limited. Winter is long. Expect snow from October through April. You are in the San Juans. Someone who moved there described it this way: Pagosa is beautiful and affordable for Colorado, but it is also slow. Really slow. If you are looking for mountain town energy without the chaos of Summit County, it is perfect. If you need nightlife or people under 50, you will struggle. Pagosa Springs works for people who want affordable Colorado mountains and do not mind a slower, older demographic. You are trading youth and energy for price and hot springs. Picture yourself soaking in natural hot springs under the stars with snow falling. Your home costs $400,000 instead of $1 million. You ski Wolf Creek without lift lines. Life is slow, quiet, and warm. Then you try to find someone to grab a beer with under age 60 and realize you are the youngest person in town by a decade. Pagosa Springs is Colorado Mountain, living without the Summit County price tag. But you are also 2 hours from everywhere and surrounded by retirees. Number 6. Philipsburg, Montana. Philipsburg is the Montana mining town that never quite died, and somehow that makes it affordable. Philipsburg sits at about 5,300 feet and has fewer than 900 people. It is in the Flint Creek Range, about an hour from Missoula, and it has that authentic Montana mining town vibe. The town exists because of mining history and tourism to nearby ghost towns. Here is what Philipsburg costs. Median home price is around $300,000. That is actually reasonable for Montana mountains. Rent is approximately $1,000 per month, if you can find it. Cost of living is about equal to the national average. The job market is minimal. There is some tourism, minimal services, and mostly remote work or commuting to Missoula. Philipsburg works because it is tiny and off the beaten path. You are an hour from Missoula, which is Montana's liberal college town. Close enough for services, far enough to stay cheap. The surrounding mountains are beautiful. Granite County is mostly national forest and wilderness. The town has quirky character, old mining buildings, a candy store that is weirdly famous, and people who chose this life deliberately. But you are living in a town of fewer than 900 people. Everyone knows everyone. Privacy is not a thing, and the winters are real. Montana cold at elevation is not a metaphor. It is a test. A resident put it simply, Philipsburg is for people who want real Montana without Bozeman prices. You get mountains, space, and community. You give up amenities, anonymity, and warmth for 6 months a year. In short, Philipsburg offers Montana mountain living at accessible prices. But you are committing to extreme small-town life. If that sounds appealing, rather than terrifying, you might be Philipsburg people. Picture living in a town of around 900, surrounded by national forest. Your home costs $300,000. You know your neighbors. You are an hour from Missoula when you need civilization. Winter is brutal but beautiful. Sometimes small and cheap beats big and expensive. Number 5. Ridgeway, Colorado. Ridgeway is the town where they filmed parts of True Grit, and honestly the name fits, because you will need grit to afford it now. Still, it is cheaper than Telluride. Ridgeway sits at about 7,100 feet, with just under 1,000 people. It is 25 miles from Telluride, in the shadow of the San Juans, and it has views that make you forget how to form sentences. Here is what Ridgeway costs now. Median home price around $550,000. Not cheap, but Telluride is $3 million, so it is all relative. Rent approximately $1,600 per month. Cost of living about 12% above the national average. Job market centers on tourism, the service industry, arts, and remote work. Proximity to Telluride provides some employment options. Ridgeway works because it is close enough to Telluride to benefit from the economy, but far enough to not get crushed by resort prices. You get access to world-class skiing, mountains that look fake, and a small town that still has actual locals. However, Ridgeway is gentrifying fast. Second homes are taking over as wealthy Telluride overflow drives prices up. The town is caught between being a real place and becoming another resort satellite. One person who has watched it change wrote that Ridgeway used to be where Telluride workers lived. Now it is where Telluride second homeowners buy their third homes. The views are incredible, but the soul is being purchased lot by lot. In short, Ridgeway is still cheaper than Telluride, but it will not be forever. If you want San Juan access without full resort prices, the window is closing fast. Picture this. You live 25 minutes from Telluride for skiing. Your views are magazine cover level. Your mortgage is $550,000 instead of $3 million. You are in Colorado's most dramatic mountains. Then you realize half your neighbors are never there, and your town is slowly becoming a ghost town full of vacation homes. Ridgeway is affordable relative to Telluride. That is like saying a Tesla is affordable relative to a Bugatti. Number 4. Gunnison, Colorado. Gunnison is the coldest town in the lower 48 And that is probably why you can still buy a house there for under $400,000. Gunnison sits at about 7,600 feet, with around 6,000 people. It is a college town, home to Western Colorado University, and it holds the record for the coldest temperature ever recorded in the continental United States outside Alaska, -66 degrees. Let that sink in. Here is what Gunnison costs, and why. Median home price is around $375,000. Rent is approximately $1,200 per month. Cost of living is about 3% above the national average. Gunnison is affordable compared with many Colorado mountain towns. The job market includes the college, tourism, some outdoor industry, and remote work. Crested Butte is 30 minutes away, providing employment. Gunnison works because it is a real town, not a resort. The college keeps it functioning year-round. It has services, grocery stores, and healthcare. You are not completely isolated, and access to Crested Butte means world-class skiing without paying Crested Butte prices. But the cold is absolutely real. Gunnison sits in a valley that traps cold air. Winter temperatures regularly hit -20 degrees. -30 degrees is not uncommon, and it is not just cold. It is long. Winter runs from October through May. This is winter that lasts. A longtime resident described it this way: Gunnison is affordable because most people cannot handle the cold. If you can survive the winter, you get incredible summer access to mountains, a real community, and prices that do not require trust funds. But winter will test every assumption you have about cold. Translation: Gunnison offers Colorado mountain living at reasonable prices if you can survive being colder than Antarctica for months. It is a real trade-off. Picture this. It is January. The thermometer reads -25 degrees. Your car will not start. Your eyelashes freeze walking to the mailbox. But your mortgage is manageable, and summer in Gunnison is perfect. Sometimes paradise requires thermal underwear and emotional fortitude. Gunnison is cheap for Colorado because it is the coldest place in the lower 48. That is not marketing. That is warning. Number 3. Alamosa, Colorado. Alamosa is technically in the mountains, but it feels like the high desert. That helps explain prices most people do not believe. Alamosa sits in the San Luis Valley at 7,500 feet with around 10,000 people. It is surrounded by 14ers on 3 sides, but it sits in a valley so wide it does not feel like a mountain town. Here is what Alamosa costs and why. Median home price around $275,000. It is the cheapest Colorado mountain town on this list. Rent is approximately $100 per month. Cost of living about 6% below the national average. The job market is anchored by a college, Adams State University, along with agriculture and some tourism. Alamosa works because it is remote. You are 2.5 hours from Colorado Springs and 3 hours from Denver. There is nothing around you. That isolation keeps prices low. You also get real 14er access. Great Sand Dunes National Park is 30 minutes away. The valley has its own strange beauty. The downside is that Alamosa does not feel like a mountain town. It is flat, high desert, and windy. You are near mountains, not in them. The town itself is basic. It exists to serve the college and valley agriculture. There is no charm, no art scene, just function. As one resident put it, Alamosa is cheap because it is not what people picture when they think Colorado mountains. You get altitude and access, but none of the aesthetics. It is practical mountain living, not romantic. In short, Alamosa offers the cheapest Colorado mountain-adjacent living, but you are sacrificing the mountain town vibe entirely. Picture living with views of 14ers, but in a flat agricultural valley. Your cost of living is low. Your access to wilderness is real. But your town is a college service center with little personality. Sometimes cheap means trade-offs. Number 2. Thermopolis, Wyoming. Thermopolis has hot springs, mountain access, and home prices so low you will think you read the listing wrong. Thermopolis sits in north-central Wyoming at about 4,300 feet with around 3,000 people. It sits on the Bighorn River, has the world's largest free hot springs, and costs less than anywhere else on this list. Here is what Thermopolis costs. The median home price is around $200,000. Actual mountain access for under $200,000. Rent is approximately $850 per month. The cost of living is about 15% below the national average. The job market is minimal, centered on tourism and some healthcare, with many people working remotely or retired here. Thermopolis works because it is Wyoming. That means nobody goes to Wyoming unless they really want to be in Wyoming. The state has fewer people than most cities. Thermopolis is hours from anywhere, but you get hot springs, access to the bighorns, and Wyoming's lack of crowds, and plenty of solitude. The downside is, you are in the middle of nowhere. The nearest town of any size is an hour away. Services are limited. The economy is fragile, and Wyoming winter is Wyoming winter. Cold, windy, and long. A resident described it honestly. Thermopolis is perfect if you want mountains, hot springs, and solitude, on a budget most people cannot comprehend. It is imperfect if you like people, services, or warmth. In short, Thermopolis offers the cheapest legitimate mountain access in America. But you are in Wyoming, which is either the dream or the nightmare depending on your personality. Picture yourself soaking in free hot springs with mountain views. Your house costs $200,000. You are fly fishing world-class rivers. Your monthly expenses are minimal. Then winter hits, and you do not see another human for days. Sometimes paradise is lonely. Number 1. Trinidad, Colorado. Trinidad is the Colorado town that sits at the base of the Rockies, costs less than anywhere comparable, and most Coloradans forget exists. Welcome to Colorado's most affordable mountain town. Trinidad sits in southern Colorado at about 6,000 feet, with around 8,000 people. It is right where the plains meet the Rockies, 30 minutes from New Mexico, and costs so little compared to the rest of Colorado, you'll check if it is actually in the state. Here is what Trinidad costs, and why nobody knows about it. Median home price is around $190,000. Under $200,000 for Colorado mountain access is unheard of. Rent is approximately $950 per month. Cost of living is about 9% below the national average. The job market is limited. There is some healthcare, education, and energy sector work, and mostly remote work territory. Trinidad works because it is far from everything Colorado cares about. You are 3 hours from Denver, 2 hours from Colorado Springs. The state's population and wealth is all north. Trinidad is south, forgotten, and cheap because of it. But you are getting mountain access. The Spanish Peaks are stunning. You are close to New Mexico's Sangre de Cristos. Hiking, fishing, and outdoor recreation are all accessible. The town itself is historic with some charm, but it is also clearly economically struggling. Downtown has vacant buildings. The population is aging and shrinking, and there is not much keeping young people here. Someone who moved there wrote that Trinidad is cheap because Colorado forgot about it. If you want mountain access on a budget and do not need amenities or community, it works. But you are also living in a place that feels like it is slowly being left behind. Translation: Trinidad offers the absolute cheapest Colorado mountain living, but you are in a town that is economically struggling and geographically isolated. The price is amazing. The trade-offs are real. Picture this. You buy a house in Colorado for under $200,000. You are at the base of mountains. You have access to wilderness, and New Mexico is 30 minutes away for different adventures. Your cost of living is absurdly low for Colorado, but your town feels tired. Half the businesses are closed. Your neighbors are mostly retirees. You are 3 hours from anything resembling a city. Sometimes the cheapest option is cheap for a reason. But if mountains matter more than everything else, Trinidad is the answer. Trinidad offers Colorado mountain living for less than $200,000. That is either the deal of a lifetime or a warning.